Hello Classic Crew, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about 6 ways to talk to liberals. I recently read Jonathan Haidt's The Righteous Mind. I've been talking about it a lot on my Twitter and on Instagram, and I just recently finished it. So, the book is talking about the moral psychology underlying left and right on the spectrum of American politics, and how by understanding the differences in approach by the two sides as regards morality, we can actually understand people better as individuals. Now,
what are your values, Abby, and how are they moral? How are they moral in comparison to liberal values? I already know the right-wing political ideologies value God, competition, profit, wealth, and war, while they stand against minorities and the poor, and will expend the environment to get what they want. Where's the morality in any of that shit?
there were things about this book that I didn't love because Jonathan Haidt is a liberal and he
Because he's a liberal? There's your psychology right there, sweetheart.
was writing this book for liberals so that they could try and understand conservatives. But in doing so, he ended up being a little bit condescending to.
You mean like you've just done here? You say you don't love certain things about that book, but where's the relevance there? This video is about how to talk to liberals, but you've already committed this mishap of saying you don't like certain parts of that book. So, not liking them makes you right and moral? That makes you qualified to advise on how to talk to liberals?
Conservatives and sort of stereotyping our morals and our values. But there were also some really valuable.
Somebody who just insultingly condemned the author as a liberal criticizes that author about stereotyping. You're on a roll, Abby. You go, girl.
Lessons in the book that I think were worth talking about and will allow us to view people on the other side of the aisle as people and not as enemies. And
What are your examples of those stereotypes? What are conservatives and libertarians as they favor money, God, and guns over the people, if they aren't enemies to anybody or the environment? Especially as they strawman and tactic their way through the arguments from liberals about those, quote, stereotypes. Also as they condemn the destitute as lazy, and preach at everybody to, quote, pull themselves up by their bootstraps, only to then call them demon rats, snowflakes, and whatever other insulting name calls.
I think that that's just a really hard thing in American politics today, is that really often across the aisle we view each other not as humans, but just as someone who disagrees with me. We see them as their politics, and people.
Okay, what's causing those disagreements? What causes the name-calling and insults? Is this about how to talk to each other and what's actually important? Is politics about any of you, left or right? Is politics about what any of you people value? Should any political ideology cause divisions? The fact that they do, what does that say about all of you?
People are so much more than that. So even though conservatives and liberals disagree on a lot, we are all people and it's worth trying.
Persuading each other to share their values, not about analysis and working together to solve problems and making necessary economic adjustments so that everybody in the country benefits. Sounds shallow to me. What tenets of right-wing political ideologies value people? What are all of the tenets? Do all of them stand for people? Are all of them about the entire country's population working together? No? Then what do you mean about people, Abby?
To understand the other side. Now, before I get started, I want to get out of the way here and now the difference between leftists and wokeists on one hand and liberals on the other. Leftists live out their woke ideology as religion. Even though it doesn't kind of look like a typical religion, it is one. They want to tear down our existing moral structures and society and start over from the beginning. They believe.
So, you call their woke ideology a religion? Instead of asking them why they want to tear your moral structure down and start from the beginning, while this video is about how to talk to liberals? I'm an independent, but my questions to that are, how is it a religion, and how are they wrong about your, quote, moral structure?
That all of the things that we now accept, things that are common sense, things that define morality, define right and wrong, define our social structure, all of that was created during a time when there was too much anything, too much bias, racism, any ism to have any value or legitimacy or moral authority. For the woke, for leftists, they believe that they are the only ones who know what true morality is and that we need to tear everything down and start over. Now,
are they wrong? You calling their ideology a religion sounds to me like you are insecure, because that's a straw man. This video's title is condescending, and you're giving off a tone of arrogance here.
Think about that. From their words and actions, it is very clear that they believe they are smart enough to tear down everything that we have known and start it over with their woke ideology. And anything that is not their woke ideology is immoral, wrong, evil, bad. We need to get rid of it and start from scratch using their version of morality. We can't.
How is their sense of morality flawed? You sit there and criticize them for wanting to tear your side's moral structure down instead of questioning them, as you insist yours is good. How are you any better than them? You've mentioned racism. Are you saying that doesn't exist? Where did it come from then, if that isn't what you're saying?
Really negotiate or have a fruitful conversation with leftists and wokeists because we're starting on entirely different footing. It honestly doesn't make any sense to engage in conversation with someone who doesn't have common ground with us because they don't look at how can we make things better from here. They think we need to tear it down and start over.
Stating your values and explaining how your moral structure is actually that, and then why theirs is bad, would help. Some right-wing values I know of are pro-life, gay marriage opposition, economic competition, minimized government, and tax cuts. How are any of those moral?
This is completely different from liberals who, like conservatives, are trying to do the best for everyone, but are still working within the same framework as we have about morality and social structures. Our disagreements with liberals can be significant, but very often they're more.
How is conservatism about what's best for everybody? I know that liberalism is all about free speech and equality, which would be good for everybody. Try me on for size, Abby. I'm all about economic trial and error, to figure out how to get everybody going and improve life by improving the workforce, getting everybody a good standard of living. I'm also about scientific progress and technological advancement. I'm psychological, not authoritarian. Are those values immoral? How the hell are liberals working in the same framework? Do liberals call the poor lazy and then tell them to pull themselves up by their bootstraps? Do they fight against anybody getting stuff for free, ignoring the fact that socialism is tax-based? Do they argue God against gay marriage and abortion, or just call women a murderer?
Practice than about principle. I believe that working with and talking to liberals can really create a fruitful conversation, and it's something that we should regularly and constantly pursue. And this is
That would require admitting when you're wrong, instead of resorting to straw mans and using tactics to try defending your position.
especially true because we need liberals on our side to fight against this wokist ideology, this leftist wokist ideology. Conservatives and liberals need to work together to stand against that kind of thinking. But now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt and 6 ways to talk to liberals. Number 1 is to make people feel understood before trying to change their mind.
Make them feel understood? What the fuck does that even mean? Try to change their mind? How about establish the facts, verify those facts, and try to figure out how to solve problems?
Jonathan Haidt uses the metaphor of a rider and an elephant to describe how people think. The rider is conscious, active reason and logic, and the elephant is intuition. It's unconscious impulses.
Granted, not all conservatives or libertarians are Christian, but they're all driven by an external, which would make them all the elephant. The religious ones being rode by both God and money, while the non-religious by money. The Democrats being just conservatives who claim to be about the people. They aren't even the elephant, they don't do anything.
We as people like to believe that the rider is fully in control, that everything that we believe and everything that we do is controlled by our logic and our reason and
Is politics about beliefs?
our conscious mind. But the fact of the matter is that's not really true, according to Jonathan Haidt. He says that the elephant is in control more often because